All right, welcome back to this week's training vlog. Not much of a training vlog, mostly a rehab vlog. No fancy intros, unfortunately. Last week, obviously, I had to do that one. So basically, this week's is a two-parter. So the title or whatever thumbnail will say injury and hamstring rehab. So I'm gonna put all that first after the intro. So that first section of the video is just gonna be rehab stuff because I don't want it to be clickbaity. And if you want to see what I'm doing, first of all, I just gotta say on that is obviously I'm not a medical professional or in any way qualified to give you advice regarding injuries. So I'm not saying this is what you should do for your knee pain. I'm saying this is me documenting what I'm doing for my possibly knee tendonitis, some form of it. It's hard to kind of diagnose things like that, and very likely uh, hamstring tendon insertion, tendonitis, inflammation, some form of that anyway for sure. So this is just what I'm doing. I'm not saying this is what you should do. Do this at your own risk. Obviously, don't ask me questions about your knee pain because I never answer questions for good reason because I don't know. I literally have no idea. It's not our field of expertise. It's impossible to diagnose people's knee pain. I can't diagnose my own knee pain. So I'm just going to show you what I'm doing. I'm going to give you some rationale for why I'm doing them. And then, if it helps you and you try it, then good. If it doesn't help you and you try it, then that's not my problem, bro. Also, one thing before we get in, okay? I'm looking at getting a new laptop. And I am probably going to go with some AMD powered laptops. So I think HP is what I'm looking at. But if anyone's any recommendations about laptops to get, previously for the last near a decade, I would have used Dell laptops and like Intel chips, which is pretty decent. But they've slowly been getting worse every iteration of Dell I get. So every fucking Inspiron or whatever the fuck they call it, every time I get one, it lasts longer. It doesn't last as long. It fucking goes to shit faster. So if anyone's any recommendations regards laptops that are under €1,000 that are preferably AMD, judging by what I've been reading, that they're better and cheaper in general. So if any recommendations, I do appreciate that. Obviously, video editing, all that other good stuff that I'll be using for. So I would appreciate some advice in regards to that. Don't do that thing where anytime I ask my friends who are savvy with computers, they're like, just get a PC. I don't want a fucking PC. Okay, so basically, what happened to my knees, right, is I'm gonna go way back. I'm gonna give you some great advice regards injuries, right? Before you get severely injured in terms of you're debilitated for your training, your body will give you very good indicators, possibly up to a year or 2 years, months, weeks, days beforehand before you actually get injured. And this has happened to me so many times, and I've heard other people talk about this, other people who train as hard as they can, is your body lets you know before you get injured something's going to happen. I've heard Gabriel talk about it. I've heard powerlifters talk about it. I've experienced it myself. Nice shot of my legs there. I never shave, obviously, because I'm not a bitch. So basically, before you get injured, your body will let you know. And so, in regards to my hamstring, I hurt it a few times over the last few months, and I kind of ignored it, and I didn't do what I needed to do. So I just ignored it because it got better fairly fast. And then like 2 weeks ago, training was going perfect, zero injury. The hamstring, I had the knee pain. I was trying to rehab that while training, and then I just really irritated that hamstring tendon again, and I wasn't doing stuff to address it. And what I should have done was, when I had the issue like up to 2 months ago, I know my hamstrings are an issue for months, years at this stage. So what I should have done was addressed it and hit stuff and make sure it didn't come back. So that's my first piece of advice regards injuries: is you are always going to know if it's going to happen, or not always going to know. So if it's an overuse injury, your body will let you know. So if it's an acute, sporadic event injury where you impact or something like that, then obviously there's not a lot you can do about that one. But regards overuse injuries like this, it is absolute murder when you don't pay attention to it. So when it's coming up, you'll know. And I wish I got on top of this hamstring a couple of weeks ago when I knew about it. I should have done it. You can literally see the tendon insertion there where I've been foam rolling is bruised, and it kind of like on the opposite side where the insertion is crossed into my calf, there's actual bruising from minor foam rolling for very little foam rolling. So basically, for tendon injuries, there's like kind of two things that research would suggest is very useful for rehabbing and strengthening is very heavy eccentrics, if you can do it, very heavily loaded eccentrics, and isometrics. So it's very, very difficult for me to do very heavy eccentrics without some kind of apparatus. So what I'm left with is pretty intense isometrics. So you can see, so this is just overhead stuff, obviously this is not for my hamstring or my knees. So this crack is just for my overhead position, front rack stability, part of my morning obligation. I left it in there just for you to see. So for my hamstring tendon, the Nordic fall isometrics were the prime things that have been helping. I've only started doing those in the last 4 or 5 days after neglecting them, obviously. So I've been hammering those, and it's been really speeding up the recovery regards to tendon injury. Now, the knee issue is, I'm not quite sure what it is, but these are the isometrics, what I am doing for my knee issue. So split squats, I just started loading them recently to kind of add a little bit of progression to them. So I probably did them for 3 weeks without loading. So big thing with these is at least 45 seconds is some of what a lot of the literature would suggest. So quite a long time. 45 seconds, multiple sets. You actually want to do a lot of sets with these, a lot of volume. Like ideally, if you were trying to rehab them with heavy eccentrics, you would have a kind of an apparatus that would, you'd lower yourself incredibly slowly under eccentric load, very, very heavy load. And then obviously you wouldn't have to do the concentric part. So you could do that with a barbell, for example, but then drop it off your back. But it's not feasible. It's probably not ideal. You're probably more likely to hurt yourself than do it. So a lot of these research systems would have is like a pulley and belt system. So to be on a platform, you'd squat up and then it would kind of load up a chain system so that on the way down then it's resisting you, which is very, very useful. But I don't have one of those, and obviously they're incredibly expensive, and I don't know if you can even buy something like that, but it's not necessarily. So these isometrics is one of the best things I can do for this. It seems to be slowly helping, but again, it's hard to tell with injuries like this. So just to reiterate again, lads, if my left knee is slightly worse, it's significantly worse than my right knee. And when I clean and jerked my 90 the year before last, when Gabriel was in Ireland, it radically seized up after, and that's the first time I think that it happened to my knee. And that is then when I should have started paying attention to that, and I wouldn't be in this case now. Again, at the end of my last training block, like around August, September, my tendons on the top of my knees were getting incredibly tight after training. So they were like radically seizing up after training. Again, that is something when I should have addressed them then, but I didn't. So if you take away anything from this training vlog, is if you have pains and aches that are consistently there, then aggressively go after them and address them and make sure they don't become a bigger issue, a la my knees, a la my hamstring. So that's the best piece of advice I give you for this. Regards actual rehab, that's something you'll have to figure out on your own. Try find a good professional. Hopefully I'll be getting Squat University's book soon, and I can hopefully implement some of the principles from that. A lot of people have been asking me regards knees over toes, or the knees over toes guys, what his name is. So I had a look at his stuff. It seems fairly intelligent. It seems consistent what other people would do and the research is doing. So he's like single leg touchdowns, knees over, like so, full range of motion training, unilateral full range of motion training by the looks of what he's doing. Interesting, he talks about trailing or like tibialis anterior, so the muscle at the front of your shin basically, which is quite interesting. I've never seen anyone talk about that, and he's kind of interesting bodyweight progressions with it and some weighted movements he's doing. But beyond that, he's doing nothing radical, which is perfect. That would make sense. So injury rehab, so Squat University talks a lot about that. It's kind of the movements he's doing are similar, and there's similar crossover. And then also if you look at some of the better research on rehab from knee tendonitis, you would see those very, very similar. So they'll have like an inclination of the knee angle. So you're trying to like extreme angle, put the tendons in like a compromised position. Well, compromise is probably the incorrect word. Probably a position where you're trying to put a lot of pressure on them, where they're taking a lot of load, so you can force some kind of adaptation. They reckon the tendon adaptations in take approximately 4 weeks for some kind of meaningful adaptation to occur for rehab. So I'm close on 4 weeks now of kind of hitting the isometrics hard. There's Buddy is not impressed. There's some sick trap games. Just wanted to show you that. So these are the other ones I've done. So this is the touchdowns, interesting. So this is what knees over toes guy do. I was blissfully unaware of his stuff in the last night. So this is from Squat University, Aaron, who's been on the podcast twice. If you haven't listened, so go check out him. He's been on a few weeks ago recently. So if you want to basically so this is kind of one of the main things he's doing. So if you think I'm squatting weird, it's because that's the whole idea, is like you're kind of stimulating your glutes and hamstrings in particular rather than forcing your knee over your toe. So that's why it looks like I'm squatting like a duck. So I'm actively pushing my hips back. This does seem to happen temporarily. I'm not too sure. I need to do this more consistently for, I would imagine, see some kind of positive effect to them. They're also Gabriel's pants. So this is the other thing. Single leg glute bridges is something Aaron was advising me to do as well. So I was doing these as like touchdowns and then isometrics at the end, but then Aaron advised me I should be doing 10 sets of 10 seconds pre-session, so as my warm-up. So I will start implementing those regards. I would say it's incredibly likely that my issues are related to my lacking hamstring. I would say it's almost without a doubt. So it's no coincidence that the tendon issues are inflamed along with knee issue. So I'd say there's something there. So that's kind of the end of what I'm doing for my rehab, prehab crack. So if that's all you wanted to see, this is the training. Basically all last week, mostly what I did right was I was able to do some heavy squats. And then I could do some light lifts. So I was just kind of testing it so that I could train with one or the other. So with just the knee issues and no hamstring issue, I could train fine. But with both of them, flexion and extension, you're kind of caught because you can't do any kind of weightlifting. So basically, last week I was just testing out doing lighter lifts. So I worked up to, I think, 110 in this session. So very, very light. So that's the first session where there's a lot less pain. But then I made a boo-boo in this session because then I was clean and jerking like 100, no problem, 110. And then I just put on 120. You'll see in a second, and it just really irritated the tendon again. So I'm a fucking dumbass. But anyway, got new plates, by the way, and some good news. So these Rogue 25s are beautiful. And then I got some very thin strength shop 25s steel plates because I badly need it. I think my squat rack might die though if I try load up anything significant after 240 or 250, but who knows. Again, reinforces. There's 110. These move really nice. I was quite happy with these. Also moving really well were my clean and jerks. So I was very happy. So it was just literally just practicing technique for me was very important. There was no issue with, it wasn't really, I didn't really feel my hamstring any bit here. So just repetition was very important, so not forget it. So I didn't want to leave it a week or 2 weeks or more while not doing any full repetition. So I just did light stuff, didn't feel it at all. A little bit on this 110, and this is where I should have stopped. So that's the second piece of advice for injury rehab, if you're still listening regards to that, is try not to re-irritate things. So give them a chance to heal if at all possible. So I did 2 sets of 110. Nice movement, nice techers. What I should have done was just left it there. I've been quite happy. So the next lift you'll see, I think, is 120. So up comes 120. And you'll see it's a really nice power clean, really good positions, pulling onto the bar effectively. But the reason I power cleaned it is because my hamstring got massively irritated. So I'm a fucking dumbass. But I don't know if YouTube recognizes me cursing, but I think I curse too much anyway. So this kind of reset me back. But given that was like Thursday and today's Sunday, and it's massively improved again. So I think I got lucky in that regard. This is more training. So just did some push press and rack. No issue with dip and drive on regards my hamstring, and very, very little issue with my knees, so wasn't too bad. So some push presses, just focusing on getting a powerful dip and drive and dipping. So I kind of dipped forward on this one, which is why I kind of got out of balance. These are 130s. So again, just doing some what I can do that doesn't cause pain. And then second 130, so it wasn't too bad. Moved on into front squats. So I'm kind of a dumbass, right? But at the same time, I'm aware of what I'm doing. So basically, I'm willing to take a little bit of pain if it means I can maintain strength or even push a little bit more. So this week in squats, basically. So here's a 190 front squat, right? So earlier this week, I moved up to 220. I did a set of 1, 2, 3, and a set of 6, and the back squat was quite good. Then moving on to front squats, I didn't get a videos of the 220s, but here is 190. Did 190 again. You can see there's a little bit of a shift because my left knee is sore than my right knee, but my right knee also has a hamstring issue behind it. So it's kind of, it is what it is. You can see I'm shifting away from my left knee a little bit. Obviously, it's not ideal. That wasn't great, 200 though, and I was kind of annoyed. So I said I'm going to do another 200, but I'm going to nail it. And to be fair, it was pretty fast. So this is 200 kilos. I reckon my max is north of 220 at the moment. Not my real max, but my max. But hopefully I can sort out my issues and keep going. Listen, this is what happens with weightlifting. Here's the video to finish off the vlog, is a 240 back squat. So I was hoping to do a few reps because I knew I was feeling quite strong. But I did a single and my knee left was quite sore. But it moves very easy, so that's 240. So it bodes well. Thanks for watching, guys. Here's a black screen. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, don't ask me about my knee rehab because I'm not a doctor. And I would appreciate any likes and comments you give because I always appreciate it. Thanks, guys.